Alright, a couple more examples. That'll be all for this section. Okay, so first of all, identifying the transformations. Okay, so what we've looked at so far, we've either had up, down, or we've had left, right. Okay, of course, up, down would require a number added or subtracted after the x squared, and I don't have this. Okay, to go left and to go right, it's going to require that I have a number added or subtracted inside parentheses to the second power, and I don't have that as well. Actually, what I have on this one is going to involve the reflection and either the stretch or the compression. Okay, let's talk about the stretch and the compression again. Remember, that's going to be a number in front being multiplied. Now, if I ask you, what number in front do you have multiplied, you'd tell me -3. But -3 is not bigger than 1, and -3 is not between 0 and 1. So when your number that you have out front is negative, actually the negative is one transformation, and the 3 is going to be another transformation. So it's only going to be the 3 that you're going to consider as either the stretch or the compression. You having the negative out front, so the negative out front is x-axis reflection. Now remember the order, so if you look back at your notes in the order, what you have listed out of those two things you have listed first is either the stretch or the compression. So the number I have here is 3. Remember, not the negative when you're doing this. So just 3. That's bigger than 1. Therefore, it's going to be a stretch. So just say stretch by 3. Then the negative out front, as I said a while ago, that's going to be x-axis reflection. Okay. All right. I'll tell you what, I'm going to do my tick marks here a little bit bigger. So I'm going to go with every other one being 1 unit this time. Okay, so if I put in my points that I'm going to start with, that would be 1, 1, 0, 0, -1, 1. So there's the 3 I start with. Now, first thing that I've got to do is a stretch by 3. Now, that is not the same as go up 3. Okay, stretch by 3 is different. Okay, this little note that I had a while ago, and I told you I'd come back and explain it. When you have a stretch or a compression, what you're going to do is take this number A, which the example I'm doing is a 3, and you're going to multiply the y coordinate of each point by 3. Okay, so y coordinate times 3. Alright, so my first point that I have here. Now the y coordinate of this point, the y coordinate is +1. So 1 times 3 is 3. So that means this point moves up to y equal 3. It's not going up 3 more, it's just actually going to the 3, the tick mark of 3. Okay, this point, its y coordinate is also +1, so I do 1 times 3, I get 3. Okay, the last point, the point here at the origin, which is the vertex, the y coordinate is 0, and 0 times 3 is still 0. This point doesn't move. So I've got the 3 orange points now. Okay, so now I've got to take each one of those and do the x-axis reflection. Okay, this is my x-axis. Okay, so these 2 points that I have above my x-axis, those 2 will flip down here. It's just like you're flipping it, okay? So whatever points you have above, you have to flip below. So instead of going up to +3, you're going to be down here at -3. Okay, now going back here to the vertex that's at the origin. Since this is on your x-axis, when you flip this about your x-axis, that point's still not going to move. So even though I've had 2 transformations to go through, this point never has moved. So this time your parabola is upside down. It turns down instead of turning up like the first two. So there's your final graph on that one. Okay, so let's talk about vertex. Of course, just looking at your graph, your vertex is still at the origin. But see, you don't have a number that's added or subtracted inside parentheses. That would be that 0. And you don't have a number added or subtracted here at the end. That would have to be that 0. Then axis of symmetry. And it's a vertical line. And the number you put here, remember, is always going to come from the x-coordinate of your vertex. Alright, let's look at one more. Okay, so going through, again, finding our transformations. Alright, first of all, keeping in mind the order that we're supposed to do. Remember, we're supposed to do a horizontal shift first. So if you look at your list of rules, of course, left and right, would be a horizontal shift. And that's going to, remember, be inside the parentheses. So you've got -3, so -3 means that it's going to go to the right. So the first thing I'm going to list is to the right 3. Alright, next you look to see if you have a stretch or a compression. And that would be a number multiplied. Now remember, if there's a negative, the negative is a reflection. So basically you're just always looking for your stretch or your compression is going to be a positive number. The only thing I have here is just an understood 1. And when it comes to, remember, the stretch or the compression, see, 1's not included. This is strictly bigger than 1, and this is between 0 and 1. So you don't have a stretch or a compression for this one. Okay, next is a reflection. So that's going to be the negative that's out front. So I do have an x-axis reflection. And last, a vertical shift. Vertical shift would have to be either up or down. And that's when you have a number added or subtracted at the end. You've got a +5. So that means it's going to go up 5. Okay, so let's put in our 3 points that we're going to start with. And first thing that I need to do with those points is to go to the right 3. So that's going to be the first thing on my list. Okay, so that would be moving each point to the right 3. Now I've got to do the x-axis reflection. Okay. This point's on my x-axis, so when I reflect it about the x-axis, that point's actually not going to move. So I'll just color over it. Both of these are above my x-axis, so they'll flip and come below my x-axis. Okay, so now I have these 3. And last, I've got to go up 5. Okay, so these 3 points have to go up 5. So I'll just start with the vertex. So this would be my parabola. So anytime you've got an x-axis reflection, your parabola is going to end up upside down. Okay, so let's do vertex. Okay, by looking at your graph, you know that it's going to be at 3, 5. Okay, but let's compare that to what we have up here. So you've got the -3, you change the sign of -3, you get +3. Here you have +5. You keep the sign the same, remember, in that case. Okay, axis of symmetry would be x = 3. Remember, the 3 comes from here. So I haven't done a whole lot with axis of symmetry in this lesson other than just identify it. Actually, the next lesson is where the axis of symmetry is more important, but just kind of wanted you to go ahead and be used to identifying that information.